the English language varieties on regional, national, and global levels. The level of difference are the basis of the term dialects and varieties. Variety is a variant of English in which it considers standard or general country. Dialect is an English variant that is characteristic of a particular area, community, or group on the dialect level. When there are phonetic differences between two accents, the same set of the phonemes are found in the both accents, but some odds on the phonemes are realized differently. According to Roth 2010, differences between accents have two main types, phonetic and phonological. Dialect can signal the speaker, general or social background, and variety may reserve the speaker nationality. There may also be differences in stress or intonation, but they do not cause a change in meaning.
Standardization. Now, here we have a picture that illustrates this. Languages involve a certain degree of standardization, that is, the development of a grammar. Here we have grammar books in present-day English, spelling rules, dictionary, and in many cases, even literature. The second criterion for a language to be defined is a criterion of vitality. This refers to the existence of a living community of speakers, thus distinguishing languages which are alive from languages which are dead. For example, Manx, a Celtic language that was formerly spoken on the Isle of Man in the Irish Sea, as compared with Welsh, a living language spoken in Wales. Both are two Celtic languages. Autonomy. The next criterion. Autonomy is a matter of feeling and thus a rather subjective criterion. A language must be felt different from other languages. But as we've already seen, for example, with Jamaican Creole, this is a matter of degree rather than an all or none criterion. Reduction. Well, that's an interesting criterion that reduced written standards, reduced functions in society help to distinguish varieties from standard languages. Here you see a picture of London. Now, in London, there are many speakers of Cockney, a well-known variety of present-day English. But they will certainly admit that they are not representative speakers of present-day English and will recognize other varieties as equally subordinate. They are using, to some extent, a reduced variety. Well, and then we have norms between good and bad, where languages normally involve norms, varieties don't. The speakers of languages have the feeling that they are good or bad speakers, and that good speakers, as good speakers, they represent norms of proper usage. For example, there are prescriptive rules in present-day English, like do not split infinitives, do not say to boldly go. Well, we know this is said in a famous movie. Anyway, using these criteria, there are even more criteria such as the historical development of languages. Does the language have a history or not? And their cultures. One can define how languages differ from one another and from their varieties, their sub-varieties, which many linguists call dialects. Now, in fact, there are three main types of variety or dialects. Both terms, variety and dialect, are sort of head terms. They are considered as head terms for several types of dialect. So we have regional dialects, social dialects, or phonological dialects, or variety, regional varieties, social varieties, or phonological varieties. Now, what is a regional dialect? Indicated here by the Scottish versus English speaker. Mostly the term dialect is associated with some sort of regional difference between the speakers of a language. In English, for example, we have degrees of rhoticity in words like car, where we're looking at the pronunciation of the final R in the phonology. We can also look at discourse markers like elements such as you know in British English versus like in American English. Rhoticity that is the pronunciation of the post-vocalic R, is a distinctive criterion for the identification of one's regional background in English. Speakers from Australia, most parts of England, have a low degree of rhoticity, they would say car. The degree of post-vocalic R in North America is higher, they would say car in North America, Ireland, and maybe even in Scotland. There, of course, with a different type of R, as in car. Social dialect. Well, when two people speak with one another, Their language is always influenced by a number of social factors. That is, for example, the role of the speaker and the listener, the relationship between them. Here we have two maybe socially differently organized people, a mine worker and some sort of, could be some sort of gentleman with official function. And of course, when they talk to one another, when they talk about a particular topic, their variety is influenced by these factors. Finally, we have the phonological dialect here, illustrated by two pictures. The picture of the Queen indicating received pronunciation versus a picture of a person from North America signaling North American English. And there are, of course, phonological variables that define these two types of phonological varieties. And if we only look at the phonology, we might even call that accent. To give you one criterion that distinguishes these two, that is, for example, the realization of the class words, where in RP you would have something like class, whereas here you would have something like class. In many cases, it is difficult to distinguish the types of dialect from one another. The postulation of a dialect continuum seems to be a reasonable alternative, but we'll deal with such a continuum elsewhere.
RP is a received pronunciation, and received pronunciation is an instantly recognizable British accent. Popular label for this dialect includes the Queen's English, First English, and BBC English. The Queen, for example, speaks an almost unique dialect of English, and English spoken at Oxford University on the BBC is no longer limited to a single accent because all RP speakers speak standard English. RP is an accent, not a dialect. In other words, they avoid using non-standard grammatical construction and localization vocabulary that are common in regional dialect. RP is also non-regionally specific and does not contain any information about a speaker's geographic background. However, views a lot about the speaker's social and or education background. Nowadays, RP accent is often taught to students who are learning English, especially for those learning English as a second or foreign language. This is also the accent used in most other British textbooks. There are a number of good reasons to learn this accent. First, despite its origin in the southeast of England, it has now become a real regional accent throughout the United Kingdom. Second, RP and related accents are often used in radio and television broadcasts in the United Kingdom, so students will have numerous chances to hear them. People who only learn English with an RP accent are likely to have some problem. First is an accent that just 3 to 5% of England population speak natively. This means that students who are new to England may have trouble and sometimes may have difficulties in understanding the other 95 to 97% of population. Second, why RP is not a geographical accent. It is a social accent, particularly associated with the upper middle and upper classes. As a result, for regional who are good at acquiring an RP accent may be treated as if they are upper class. and the reaction may not always positive. 2. Next, suppose the RP vowel system. There are 25 vowel, 12 monotongue, 8 diphthongs, and 5 triphthongs in the RP vowel system. Although there are no geographical differences in RP, there are variations in the other kinds, conservative and advanced. Other terms which are commonly used to describe different kinds of RP, while older speakers tend to use conservative pronunciation, younger speakers tend to use advanced pronunciation. Some of the differences are presented as follows. The second, vowel in near RP accent. Since RP speakers account for a minor percentage of the English population, many native speakers working as teachers of English are not native speakers of RP. If they are from the south of England, particularly the south, likely that their accent will closely resemble RP, especially if they are of middle-class origin, but not be identical to it. Finally, is the RP concerning.
Hi guys, my name is Juergen. There is a great difference in British English between the length of vowels, with some being pronounced significantly longer than their American counterpart. Some of this because the R is added to many American vowels, as seen above. Most phonemic chart reflects this by showing 5 or 6 American vowels with 2 triangular dots, whereas most charts do not offer this for American English.
One last easy rule that you'll want to know about vowel length. If the word or syllable is stressed, the vowel is also longer.
Some words, particularly those of French origin, are emphasized differently in American English, with the last syllable straight in American English and first syllable straight in British English. Adult, ballet, brochures, garbage are examples of terms straight differently in American English, particularly those of French origin, where American English preserved the final syllable straight, but it invented the phrase address and mouth check. Though the structure of speech in British English and American English is relative similar, the dialect is considerably different. The most notable distinction in the British tendency to use high filling intonation in phrasing the primary stress and then lowering it, where raising tones are more common in American English. Thus, you go up from the major stress. Aspect is the term used to describe the use of increasing intonation in remark. Another notable difference in intonation between British English and American English is that American speakers speak more slowly and monotonously than British speakers, and the British are much more expressive and they often lengthen their vowel.
Consonant sound. Some noticeable difference between AE and BE. According to Hutton, is how the consonant R and T and G are pronounced. The contract N is symbol decrease below
are extracted and adapted from his article on American British pronunciation. Silent R. Small noticeable distance between American English AE and British English BE. It is almost obsolete R in BE. British speakers only pronounce a print R. It's the R vowel. A vowel sounds before we don't say it car, puck, car, or further in AE. However, every print R pronounced as car, puck, car, and further. In AE's tongue is called further back, giving it a slightly muffled quality when R is pronounced in read and narrow or narrow, where in BE the tongue is flatter and more forward. D. Style D. In AE, this style is often made with a voice flap, similar to a very flap. D or D. Water, Saturday, letter, university. This style would be pronounced as a normal D and BE. English, water, Saturday, letter, university. American English, water, Saturday, letter, and university. Short C dropping. British English. Exam. Dude, dude, nude, lewd, stewed, dude. American English. Turn, dirty, new, wood, shirt. Vowel sound. Many of the 20 vowel sounds in British English and American English are extremely similar. However, they are a style with distinct difference. The following comparison of vowel sound between BE and AE are taken and adapted from his article on American and British pronunciation. R to R. In BE, background open style R is used to pronounce words like hot, soft, lot, soap, and want. In AE, round sleep are used when the style is pronounced. Example: British English, hot, lot, soap, want. American English, hot, lot,